My name is Michael Becktel. I'm a franchise owner for W.O.L.F Fitness Gyms. My location is in Mullica Hill, New Jersey, which is in Gloucester County. And we're here today to do a testimonial. When I first walked into a W.O.L.F gym, it was 2018. I live in Brigantine, New Jersey. It was recently purchased by Tony and Trish. It hadn't yet been renovated. It was a crappy little hole-in-the-wall gym. The culture hadn't yet been formed, and the gym was not yet ready. I had recently retired from my career in finance, and I committed myself to, in my retirement, doing a number of things, one of which was getting into the best shape of my life. So I started that by going to W.O.L.F. You know, for me, at the time, I knew that I didn't want to work in finance anymore. I knew I wanted to have freedom, and I knew I wanted to spend more time with my wife. I just didn't really know what freedom really meant to me then. And I think part of what I was looking for in the gym was working through all of that, figuring that out for myself. And I've since learned that the gym, W.O.L.F, for me at that time and still today, it's like the cornerstone of sort of my whole life, right? All the pieces fit together when I'm in that gym, and then everything else falls into place. And that's really where I found myself and who I wanted to be. Prior to W.O.L.F, I was a member at a number of other gyms in the area, and then going all the way back to the time that I was in New York City, North Jersey, different parts of New Jersey. So I've been to a number of gyms, and even in the Atlantic County area, I went to some of what we would consider W.O.L.F's competitors. So I had a pretty good handle on who the gyms in the area were and what they had to offer. It's not easy for me to get motivated to work out, which is ironic. I own a gym. I'm in a gym every single day. I try to work out 7 days a week, but I find myself struggling sometimes to work up that energy to get things going. I tried the home gym thing for a while. I tried running and push-ups and pull-ups, you know, during COVID and different things. But so much of my motivation is wrapped up in the culture of the gym that I'm in. So I found that for me personally, some of these other gyms that I was going to, they might have nice equipment, aesthetically, maybe they have great lights, maybe they don't, maybe they're trash, but it's the people and the culture that was inspiring me to get in a really good workout, to make myself better. And that's what I found at W.O.L.F. You know, sure, like W.O.L.F had great equipment too, but it wasn't about the equipment. You know, it was about the culture and the environment. That's what really drew me to W.O.L.F. I had removed most of the barriers in my life to being able to achieve what I want to achieve. Right? So I had created financial freedom. I had an amazing wife. By all accounts, my life was fantastic. The only thing standing in my way really was me, my personal motivation. So finding a way to fight through that was really probably my biggest challenge. Well, look, you know, if I didn't make a change, I know what was going to happen, right? So, because I lived it. When I was working 100 hours a week on Wall Street, eating terribly, not working out, I saw what happened to my body and to my mind. You know, I was literally and figuratively killing myself. And all of that stems from, for me, being in a good routine at the gym. So I know what happens when I fall out of that routine, because I saw it. It happened to me. You know, I start drinking more, I start eating worse, I'm less efficient in my life, I'm less efficient at work. Now it's my happy place. You know, that gym in Brigantine that I still consider my home gym, even though I own a different W.O.L.F gym, that Brigantine gym will always be my home gym, and it's the place I love to work out the most in the world. I mean, I walk in there and I feel like myself. And I've heard Tony say this before, but it's an old school, new school gym. And like, I really mean that. It sounds confusing, but what that means is you walk in there and there's some clanging and banging, but there's really state-of-the-art equipment as well, and everything in between. So the equipment is kind of the first thing. The important thing is the culture. In Brigantine, and what I've tried to do in Mullica Hill in my gym, and I think we've been successful in adopting that, is create an environment where everybody feels welcome. Brigantine, I think, was the first W.O.L.F to really do that, and they did it right. And then Tony has expanded that out and done it in other places. And now I've adopted it and done it up in Mullica Hill. But we had a crew of people when I was working out there consistently that was like a young power lifter. Actually, he's back here right now. I saw him working out. He's deadlifting like 750 pounds now. I would work out with him every day. This other guy, John, who was 71 at the time, this high school kid, and then this other middle-aged Hispanic guy. And it was like our little crew, and we would deadlift, bench, squat together. There's no reason that any of us should have been working out together. Came from different walks of life. We're all different ages. But when we got into that gym, we were best friends, you know? And that's what I love about that place. The most surprising thing, frankly, to me has been the speed of adoption across the country. I knew that this was an incredible business model, and I knew that they had something special, but I thought it would sort of radiate out from South Jersey into Pennsylvania, into Delaware and Maryland and New York, and it was like a rocket ship. You know, all of a sudden now we're going to be in Houston, and there's a bunch of locations in Florida, and we're up north, and we're going to be out west, and it's really cool to see. But that was the most surprising thing, was just how quickly everybody else realized what I saw initially. As I watched that first W.O.L.F take shape, right? It was the OG location, and they turned that old gym into what became the first W.O.L.F and what I view as a truly incredible gym. I saw that happen. I saw the aesthetic shift, but I saw the cultural shift in real time because I was there working out every day. And as that started to happen, it planted the seed for me. Like, this is something really special. This is something I really would like to be a part of. You know, in my pseudo-retirement, I was running some real estate businesses and doing a couple of things on the side from an investing standpoint. And I wanted to get involved into like a kind of a more elbow deep, like nitty-gritty small business. And I was looking at a number of things, right? I looked at a tree trimming business, and I was looking at a snow removal business, and I was thinking about the gym business too. And the reason I chose a gym, I love the gym, but really the reason I chose it was I knew I had the backbone of W.O.L.F behind me, right? So I knew that I could partner with W.O.L.F and make this into a successful business. And the other things that I was looking at doing, I didn't have that support, but here I knew I was going to be fully supported. Early on, it was honestly a little chaotic. It was the early part of the franchise, so they were getting their feet wet. I was getting my feet wet, so we were sort of doing it together, which I really appreciated. As a guy who's run businesses before, I didn't necessarily need the full operational manual. You know, I've explained it to people like W.O.L.F isn't McDonald's, where they tell you to microwave a cheeseburger for 33 seconds and not 35 seconds. You know, W.O.L.F gives you the tools you need to turn your gym into a W.O.L.F, but your W.O.L.F. And that's what I really appreciated about it. You know, it's not some cookie cutter corporate gym, right? They have the formula, but then they let you inject sort of your own style and your own vision into it based on your specific demographics as well. And I think that that's really why it's been successful. My success early on was the personal attention that I got from W.O.L.F ownership. They're with you every step of the way, particularly early on. It's not something that you're going to get from a lot of other franchises, where you can text or call the owner or his number two and make sure that, like, regardless of what your question is, you're going to get it answered. It's going to get answered quick. I mean, I could talk all day about what surprised me. Honestly, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I was surprised at how much work it was, to be honest. For me, that was pleasantly surprised because sometimes I like to bite off a little more than I can chew. That allowed me to rise to that occasion, and I couldn't be happier about it. I mean, look, I took over an existing gym. I bought them out of their business. They were a break-even gym, and by the third week, it was profitable. I'm 7-8 months in now, and yeah, for us, I wasn't quite sure if we were going to be successful. You know what, that's fucking bullshit. I knew I was going to be successful. It's very rare that I fail at something that I put my mind to. I knew I was going to crush it. To be honest, I didn't know I was going to crush it this fast. And we really have. So we took a break-even gym, and right now we've increased revenue 40 to 50%. So all of that is gravy. It's all fallen to the bottom line. So economically speaking, this was a really, really great decision. Much better than I had anticipated, honestly speaking. but also that's not really what it's about for me. Maybe initially that was how I made my decision, like, is this going to be a good economic decision for me? When I was evaluating this opportunity versus other opportunities, as I've gotten into it, the economics are there, we're killing it, but it's about so much more than that. Every day I walk into this gym, and now that I've been there for several months, I see people making actual transformations in their lives. And that's the most gratifying thing to me. It's something that, honestly, I didn't expect to be so gratified by when I first got started, right? Like, once we got the economics there and the profitability, and I knew that was set, I felt like, okay, what's next? How do we grow this further? Can we add on other businesses? And now what I realize is, we're just making people's lives better. So that's my main focus now is, how can we give back to the members? How can we make sure that these people stay on track? And I've seen people making transformations every day, right? Probably dozens, honestly, hundreds of people come through the door, and I see that they're maybe a little thinner or a little stronger, or kids that now look more confident. And it's the coolest thing. It really is. And I see it every day. So that's the best part of my job. And it's not something that I expected. My very first day as a member, I probably never thought that I could or would own a gym. It wasn't necessarily like a childhood dream of mine. Being at W.O.L.F every day turned it into a dream of mine. So, like working out in that gym, seeing the culture, it became a part of me, and I knew that at some point in the future I was going to need to take that and take what I had seen happen in Brigantine and do that somewhere else. And I'm just so gratified that I was able to finally get to do that. Having had the background that I had through finance and I was a pretty high-level executive on Wall Street. When I retired, people would ask me what I did, and even though I was still running some real estate businesses and doing some things on the side, I would say I was retired because I didn't view those as real businesses. And then when I first took over the gym and started that, and people would ask me what I did, I didn't know how to answer it because, sure, like, okay, I own a gym, but that's not how I viewed myself. That was just a thing that I was doing, and now I'm a gym owner. Now I have a W.O.L.F, and it's just funny, like I noticed that a couple of months ago, but at some point there was that internal transformation where I went from just sort of a guy who was running a profitable gym and was kind of proud about that to like, I barely go anywhere now without a W.O.L.F shirt on, and that has become such a big part of who I am, and I'm really proud about that. When I walk into my gym now, we have aqua fitness classes, and I'm gonna be like a bunch of senior citizens in the pool doing their aerobics, their water aerobics, and if I walk into that pool, they all start howling at me because they're part of the W.O.L.F pack. And it's just the coolest thing. It's cheesy, but it's fun, and I love it, and they love it. And stuff like that happens around our gym every day, and it's a really neat thing. If I could speak to somebody who was in my shoes, right back then, just a member of W.O.L.F with the dream potentially of owning a gym, I would tell them this is the community for you. There are a lot of ways to get into this business. There are a lot of different franchises, or you can go start your own gym. You can try that. But if you want to be a part of something real, a part of something special, a family, a W.O.L.F pack, do it, and start that conversation. And it may not be for you. And I'll tell you what, if it's not for you, W.O.L.F is going to tell you that. They're not, at this point, with the growth that W.O.L.F is experiencing, and I truly mean this, they're turning away more people than they're accepting. It's effectively a reverse interview process, right? So you're interviewing them like, hey, are you going to be a good franchise? Can you help me start my gym? But more so, they're interviewing you. Are you going to be the type of person that we want running a W.O.L.F? So I think it's worth that conversation on both sides to get together and see if you're a match. Why is now the time to become a W.O.L.F gym owner? This is the ground floor. I mentioned before that the growth is like a rocket ship, and that's true. But I don't know how many gyms are open now, 12, 14, 15. 2 years from now, it's going to be hundreds, right? So you want to get in now. Like, this is the time, right? You want to get in while you're still going to get that super high level of personal attention from ownership. You want to get in while you still have the ability to help shape the franchise, right? So like, we get on calls every Tuesday, and sit together, the franchisees, and kick ideas back and forth. And we're helping to shape and build the franchise as it's growing. That's what I want to be a part of, right? I don't want to come into something in the 9th inning and hope that it works out. I want to build that franchise together with W.O.L.F. That's what I'm doing right now, and I think that's what future franchisees can do if they get in soon. What makes it worth believing in is it's the culture. I keep coming back to that word, but I truly mean it. W.O.L.F has 4 pillars: honor, integrity, community, and commitment. There are words on the wall. There are decals all around this gym behind me. There are things that people read and see. But for me as a franchisee, for W.O.L.F ownership, and for the other franchisees, I mean, we live by these words. It trickles down from the top, from W.O.L.F ownership, down to me as a franchisee, down to my employees, all the way down to the members. But the tone is set at the top, and honor, integrity, community, commitment. We embody these principles. We do. What's that? Work out, live fierce? Is that what it says back there? I mean, it's badass. And the founder's wife came up with it, which I think is very cool. But it's awesome. We've got it on shirts, we've got it on the wall, but people rally behind that, and I think that's a cool thing. To a potential franchisee, I would say it's hard work. Owning a gym isn't easy. W.O.L.F makes it easier, but you got to be committed. You have to have the right type of personality, and if you think it's something you want to do, start the conversation. I don't want to say, hey, dive in, do it. You won't fail. That would be bad advice. Like any small business, you can fail. Like any small business, you can take your eye off the ball. But if you apply the principles that W.O.L.F teaches you, and they're going to help you pick your demographics, they're going to help you pick your location and figure out if the numbers make sense. They're not going to let you put a gym in a place where there shouldn't be a gym. So then it's up to you, and if you apply those principles, you're going to succeed. There's just no way. There's no way that this can fail if your heart is in it. I always thought it was bullshit when people said, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. I thought that was fake. I thought that was something that people told themselves because they figured this is how I can get through my miserable existence. I chose a career in finance because when I was younger, I thought, okay, there's no job that I could ever potentially like. So if I have to have a job that I'm going to hate, then let me find a job where I can make as much money as possible, as fast as possible, so that I can stop having a job. And I did that. I retired when I was 35. And for 7 years, I traveled. I spent time with my wife. I went fishing. I did some investing, which was fun, but not a job. And after 7 years, I knew that I needed to get involved in something big. And I chose a W.O.L.F gym. And I work every day, sometimes 18 hours a day, and I work not at all. I love every second of it. And now I'm just one of those schmucks who actually says that thing, sure, I have a job, I run W.O.L.F.
You suck.
I don't work at all, because I love it. And I really do. It's completely transformed me. Am I gonna open more gyms? I think about it. I think about it every day, and I'll tell you why. This gym has been so successful. This is going to sound a little egotistical, but I'm tempted to see if this was an accident. I'm tempted to see if we can replicate it. I think we can. There are a lot of gyms that fail, just like there are a lot of restaurants that fail. Restaurants don't fail because restaurants can't make money. Restaurants fail because some really good cook thinks that he can run a restaurant. Gyms don't fail because gyms don't make money. Gyms fail because some guy who knows the gym really, really well or is a really good personal trainer thinks that he can run a gym. I'm none of those things. I'm not a personal trainer. I'm not a restaurateur. I wasn't a gym owner. I just thought I could be successful because I'm a pretty good business guy, and I had an incredible business model behind me with W.O.L.F. And I proved that concept, and I'm proud of that. And I take most of the credit for it, but every piece of credit that I'm not taking goes to W.O.L.F. and I kind of want to see if we can replicate it. I want to see if we can do it again. So yeah, I think about opening more gyms. 5 years from now, W.O.L.F, it's going to be in every state. It's going to be in multiple countries. My biggest hope is that W.O.L.F can maintain the culture that it's been building. Anything that gets big runs the risk of kind of losing that heart. I think that ownership is really focused on keeping that, and I think that the model that they put together will allow them to keep that. But that's what I do worry about. They're going to be so big and so successful. I just hope that when you walk into a W.O.L.F, you still feel like it's a W.O.L.F. The Work Out, Live Fierce slogan, it resonates, you know, because it's tough, but it's real. You know, when you say it to people, I didn't realize that that was the W.O.L.F slogan for a while. I was working out at a W.O.L.F for probably a year before Tony put it on the wall. So, you know, I saw that it was an acronym for something, but I never really thought much about it. So I didn't know that W.O.L.F stood for Work Out, Live Fierce until one day I finally saw it up on the wall, and I was like, oh shit, like, that's actually badass. And I've seen that with my members too at my gym in Mullica Hill. Once we got a shirt that actually had Work Out, Live Fierce on it, and people started to click, and then we got the decals on the wall. They were already bought into W.O.L.F and the brand and the culture and the W.O.L.F head, and they love the logo and they love the gym and they love us. And then they see that and they're like, oh, this is just that much better. Any misconceptions? It's not glamorous. As a gym owner, for me, you know, I do every job, right? I own the gym, I do marketing, I do advertising, but I'm the janitor too half the time. You know, I'm in the bathrooms cleaning stuff up. I'm out at the pool fixing the pump, vacuuming. I'm emptying the cold plunge tubs. I'm wiping down the sauna. And sure, my employees do all that stuff too, but a lot of it falls on my shoulders. And you know, it's not glamorous, like I said, but it's fun. You know, sometimes when you're a franchisee in any franchise, what you want to make sure is you're getting value, because you're paying something. You're paying a percentage of the dollars that you make to this franchise for their support. You know, I've been involved in other franchises. Economically speaking, you can imagine that it would be hard to justify paying X percentage of your revenue to someone else when they're not there, boots on the ground, running it every single day. With W.O.L.F, sure. Have I had that thought? Of course I have. You know, I send them a check every month, and I'm doing so well, it's a big fucking check. But never once have I questioned whether or not that was value that I was getting back. Never once. I happily send them that check every month because I know that I'm getting that value back in spades. And it was true right from the beginning. You know, from the equipment package that I bought initially, which would have cost me 3 times as much if I didn't have W.O.L.F behind me, to the daily operations, to the logo, to the social media presence, to the national presence. These are all things that I'm getting where if I opened Mike's gym in Mullica Hill, yeah, could I have made it successful? I think so, but would it be as successful as it is today? There's absolutely no way that it would be this successful, and that's just the reality. Tony and I became friends just from me working out in his gym. You know, me seeing him and Trish there every day. And originally, I don't think we talked about this really actually, but the way that I got involved in this whole thing was I tried to buy Tony's gym in Brigantine. I went up to him and asked him if he would consider selling it. And you know, Tony's very nice and diplomatic, but there was no fucking way that he was selling that gym. And he basically told me as much. So we talked about it a little bit more and got to know each other more through that, and connected sort of on a personal and a business level. He and I speak the same language in a lot of ways. And over the months and years, we talked a little bit more about the business and what he was doing to grow it. And I said, listen, if you ever franchise this thing out, I'll do one. Because he hadn't franchised it yet at that point in time. And then he franchised it, you know? So then I did one, you know? And it's as simple as that. Yeah, no, you know, most of what I knew from Kale originally was just seeing him on Instagram every single day. Gym Launch is prolific. You guys are all over the place, and it's impossible not to see Cale's face. So I felt like I knew him through that, and heard him on podcasts and other things. And then I had a chance to meet him and basically spend a whole day with him at a club here in Brigantine. We hung out by the pool and had some really great conversations, and I got to know him on a more personal level, and learned that, frankly, he's a much he's gonna fucking see this, right? On Gym Launch videos, he's selling something. When someone's selling something to you and you know that they're trying to sell you something, maybe I shouldn't speak so broadly, but for me, I'm kind of like, this guy might be a douchebag. He's good looking, he looks like he's in pretty good shape, he's obviously very successful, he's very good at selling, and so you can't really get to know someone's personality when they're behind a camera and they're doing something like that. When I got to spend a whole day with him at the pool and talk to him on a personal level, it rewrote my impression of him in a big way. Sure, he's still in good shape. Actually, he's in better shape than I even thought he was. He's a good-looking guy. He's smart. He's successful. I knew all of those things, but he's a really devoted family man. He talked a ton about his family. He has a lot of faith. We talked a little bit about that. He has just an innate sense of business, and not just his business, but all businesses. We talked about different things that I've been involved with, and he understood exactly what I was saying, even though he wasn't involved in those businesses. I was very impressed by him, and I'm really glad we got to spend some time together, and I look forward to spending more time with him. There's a lot of pieces to the W.O.L.F puzzle. And not everybody knows kind of what the ownership structure looks like and who's involved. But Dave Bautista, I haven't met him yet. I hope that I get to. I actually want to bring him out to Mullica Hill and show him our gym. But that's not a small thing, and he's bought into the culture as well. And I think he's the right guy, because I think he at least publicly, he kind of portrays himself with that W.O.L.F ethos. So I'm really happy that he's a part of the organization.